As we come into chapter 13, we find what is often called Jesus' upper room sermon, or the upper room discourse of Jesus. This is the night before he goes to the cross. And he is spending one more night with his followers, pouring into them a powerful sermon. And he begins the night with an illustration that you'll never forget. In the ancient world, it was common, because people wore sandals most of the time, for homes to have maybe a child or even a servant who would take the time to get down and wash people's dirty feet when they entered the room. Now, only would a child or a servant do this kind of a menial job. It was a very humble thing. And yet when Jesus has his followers in this room, the upper room, the room that he's going to give them his communion meal, the first thing he does, we read, is that he takes a towel, he wraps it around him, he takes off his outer garment, and he begins to humbly wash feet. Peter, one of Jesus' followers, immediately begins to contest this. No, Lord, you can't do this. And Jesus says something very interesting in verse 8. He says, if I do not wash you, you will have no part with me. Remember, John's gospel has a lot to do about water. Remember John 2, water into wine? John 3, you need to be born of water and the Spirit, living water, etc. So you need to be washed in order to be right with God. We all have things that are keeping us dirty, that are keeping us from having a heart like we need to know God. And so what does Jesus do? He washes them. I think this is kind of a figure of what Jesus did from eternity. You see, Jesus takes off his clothing, his outer garment, he takes a towel, and he serves his children in the most humble way. This is like what Jesus did for you and me. You see, from eternity, he was God in glory. But it's like Jesus, he veiled his glory. He compressed it. And what did he do? He put on the towel of humanity, flesh and bones. He added a body. And he came here and he humbled himself, even to the point of death, to die on the cross. Now, what's interesting to me in John 13 is Jesus says in verses 14 and 15, you need to follow my example. So I've got a little illustration for you. A lot of people, when they come to church, they come like this. They wear a bib because they want to be served. They want to get from God. But Jesus says, once you have met him, instead you should come like this, like a waiter does, to come and serve, to love others and serve others as Jesus has served us and changed us. How do you come to God? Do you come to be served or to serve? That's the question. Now, in John 13, he ends in verse 34, and he says, I give you a new commandment, that you love one another as I have loved you. Now, the Old Testament, in Leviticus 19:18, commanded us to love our neighbor. But Jesus says this is a new way, a new commandment. The standard is no more to love your neighbor as yourself. The standard is Jesus. Love as I have loved you. How does Jesus love us? He gave his all. You see, Christianity is primarily about love, the love of God, sacrificial love. He says people will know you are a Christian by how you love one another. If you're unloving, you're not like Christ. When Jesus changes us, we can't help but love. Love just comes out of us. It pours out of us. As Christians, we are to be the most loving people, not because we have to be, because we can't help it. Jesus changed us. We want to see others changed. So that's the beginning of this sermon. So I ask you, who are you serving? Who are you loving? When we come into chapter 14, Jesus is going to explain what is going to happen on the cross and what believers have in him. I'll see you in that chapter.